But then now there's so much research about it. And like this is one of the things that kind of weirds me out about it is like they say, because I was worried like, all right, if I'm in an elevator with someone, can I get it? And they're like, no, like you need to be around them for 15 minutes. And it's like you can't get it if you're like just going on an elevator and that person has coronavirus. Like it's not a big deal. The reason we have the masks and the reason we're staying 6 feet away is in case they cough. So if they're not like coughing in your vicinity, even if they have it, you're not really getting it. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't really sound like the super contagious thing where everyone's gonna get coronavirus, because like that, you know, that sounds pretty fucking difficult to get. Like I'm not around most people for longer than 15 minutes. I haven't been coughed on like in 20 years, you know? Like, so how am I getting this? How am I gonna get this fucking super contagious virus that like, and that they're like, oh, it's also impossible to get it outside. And then there's a rule like fucking, oh yeah, you weren't here yet, but like we went to go into this, like to go buy our SIM cards, and this guy's like, tapabocas, and we're outside. And like that rule of like wearing a mask outside, it's so fucking stupid. And it's like, it doesn't make any...
There's no science.
It's like follow the science, but like let's wear our masks. Like let's wear 2 masks, you know? Like, let's wear 2 condoms, you know? It's like...
and it's like this weird follow the science, but also we need you to signify that you're on our team. That's not science. Science isn't about teams. Science is about truth, right?
And it's frustrating that there are scientists that say, hey, by the way, this is how it's going, you know, and they're not mentioning it, you know? Like, this, you know, Robin Babber, the dude who, he's like a politician from Oakville or something like that. He came out with this. He like pretty much was like, hey, by the way, like we need to lift these lockdowns. He made this very professional thing. Immediately, like he was a liberal or something like that, and they just like got rid of him. And they're like, now you're no longer a member of the Liberal Party. And it's like he didn't say anything.
He just said he just science.
He's like, hey, like here's what the science says, and it just went against the mainstream narrative of it, and they just got rid of him. Now he's a politician as a independent, and it's like, and then he posted like this other doctor who used to be like the main doctor in Ontario. He's like, no, like the metrics that you have in terms of like case fatality rate, I forget what it was, but they're like the only reason I can, like, I've thought about why you would use this metric, and the only reason I can think of is to instill fear. Like there's no, it doesn't make any sense that you're using this metric as a metric to measure this. It doesn't make any sense. And then he like made an open letter too, and like just
he's gone.
Crickets, you know, like you don't hear anything. And it's like, bro, like I trusted the government at the start of this. The fact that the government doesn't address these things that are being said, you know, they're not saying like, hey, we are taking into account what this like person who actually has something to say has said, you know, and they just don't address it. And it's like, why aren't you addressing it, you know? Why? And then it's like even all the social media things, like we were talking about, like that hydroxychloroquine, it's like that girl is a doctor who's saying that. You can say whatever you want, and then they're like, oh, she's actually a witch doctor, da da da. I was like, well, she has a PhD. Like she has a real PhD. And it's like, then they removed all that from the internet. And you can't, in my opinion, you can't do that. You can't, like, if it's a dangerous thought, you know, like let it, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's, you can't just remove an idea because it doesn't agree with the mainstream narrative, and that's like a dangerous precedent. That's what I was saying with like with that book I'm reading, the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, is Nazi Germany. They had they pretty much, when Hitler came to power, he just removed all the newspaper stands and everything like that, and pretty much there was a Nazi newspaper, and that's it. And like all of the information before they invaded Poland was Poland is aggressively doing this and this and this. And what they ended up doing was they sent a bunch of SS officers in Polish uniforms to go shoot a bunch of their concentration camp people dressed up as Germans, and then they're like, Poland attacked us. And people, like, they didn't have any, you know, like, people in Germany, they thought that like everyone was closing in on Germany, when it was actually like this one man was trying to conquer all these different places. And they didn't know, because they didn't have control of information, you know, like the information that they were siphoned was controlled. So that's why when I'm seeing like these, you know, when I'm seeing the censorship that we're seeing now, it's like, like even like we're gonna get rid of Donald Trump from all social media, like that was insane. That fucking guy's not even allowed to have a Spotify account.
That is insane. Him, Alex Jones, like a couple of these people, it's just like, wipe them out.
It's like, well, the fact that they aren't allowed to talk makes me be like, oh, maybe there's some.
What do they have to say?
You know what I mean? Like if you're censoring information, like maybe it's too like we're talking about, like getting to the lowest common denominator, like the average person. Maybe they're fucking stupid and they can't. It's like, oh, like if we're gonna talk about hydroxychloroquine or like Tide Pods, like eating Tide Pods to cure coronavirus, they'll do that, and we have to protect those people. But I mean, like, it's kind of, I should be allowed to get the information I want.
What happened to Darwin?
Yeah. Like, if they're going to do, if the information's dangerous, then let them go.